And we are back, this time with Paladins of the West Kingdom. It does have an expansion, City of Gold, City of Crowns, I can't remember, which we will go over in a separate video, just like with Architects. But for now, I'm going to go over the base game of Paladins. First thing to note, I have changed the Tome Saga cards, so we will now have three different ones now for the yellow, and this hasn't changed. However, one of these crests will have been taken away, but I'll leave them up there for now. So this will be the setup. I'm sure whoever has the game will be able to go through the setup with you. I have set up two boards here, sort of. I've got a second one for just going round. However, this one is the only one that I've put the additional tokens on, just for example sakes. So, Paladins of the West Kingdom will be played over 7 rounds. The rounds will be kept on track by the fact that we will be flipping these cards at the start of each round, and as you can see, there are numbers at the top. After the round where you flip this last one, that is the last round, and then the points will be tallied, and the winner is the one with the most points. So, this game is played over 7 rounds, with there being 7 phases per round. Most of it is admin, but I will go over it, and then we will talk about all the actions, which will be the main meat of the game. So the very first thing you'll do on a round will be to pass the start player token to the next player. However, in the first round, whoever is the first player is the first player, so they get to keep it. Then, the second phase is revealing that round's either King's Order or King's Favour cards. Now, they are different. What I'm going to do in order to be able to explain what they do is I'm going to act like we are about to go into round 3. So that would be, this is the only time this happens. Round 3 both reveals a King's Order and a King's Favour card. So these will be ongoing. Now, what are these King's Orders and King's Favours cards? King's Orders, where there will be 3 of them in the game, will show you, well, will give you an objective to work towards. So in round 1, you'll only have 1, and you will know only one thing to work towards until the second round, and then until the third round. And then at the end of the game, everyone that has achieved this will get these points at the bottom of the board. So, for example, this one is for every person who has built 5 garrisons, 5 monks, and built 5 bits of wall will get those points. The King's Favours cards, they are additional worker placement areas where you will be able to place your workers later on in the game. Obviously, this doesn't start until round 3, though. So up until round 3, you only have your player boards. But for example, on this one, and it might mean nothing, well, if you haven't played before, this won't mean anything to you, but I will just give this example. If you were, on your turn, to place a purple worker, a criminal, on this card to activate it, you will be able to increase either your faith, strength, or influence attribute on your board by 1. There we go. And as we say, as the game goes, more will be flipped that do different things, allowing you to do whatever. Now, some of them will show these outlines. This isn't just, oh, this is where you place it, because it's not just that. If you see a transparent worker, a worker of any colour can be placed there. And when I say any colour, that is because there are lots of different workers of colours. Ignoring the yellow ones, they are from a mini expansion. I'll go over when I go through the expansion content. There are 6 different colours of workers. You have your white, your blue, your purple, red, black, and green. Separate them like this. Your white are your labourers. They are not special at all. Really, you're only wanting to put them on any spaces that are transparent. They won't do you any other favours anywhere else. They're just general good hard workers. These four, blue, red, black, and green, there will be very specific places that will state those colours. You have to use a matching colour in order to activate. And your purple is a criminal. Essentially, game speak, it's a wild. So that can be used in, obviously sometimes there are exact spaces for it. If not, they can take place of any other colour. So that's phase 2, revealing one of these depending on the round. Phase 3 is all to do with, hidden them behind this box, these tavern cards. What you will do is you will reveal a number of cards equal to the number of players plus 1. I know I've only got 2 boards out, but I'm acting as if we're playing a 4-player game. So in a 4-player game, 5 cards will be revealed. And they're just left up for everyone to see. That is the 3rd phase. The 4th phase is all to do with your Paladins. So each player will have a deck of Paladins. They shouldn't be on there. We'll have a deck of Paladins. There'll be 12. What you do in this phase is you will reveal the top 3. I say reveal, you don't. You draw 3 into your hand. I'm just put them on the table for explanation. And you will do a different thing with each one, and it is your choice on what you're doing. You are taking one to use as your active paladin for the turn. So you take it face down on this space on here to say that's your active one. You take one paladin and you put it on top of your deck, so you know that's going to come out in the next round. And then the 3rd one goes on the bottom of the deck, like so. So then that's what you do for that round. That's phase 4. Phase 5 is picking one of these cards and revealing your paladin. So you reveal your paladin and choose one of these cards to have, going in clockwise order with starting player going first. Now, what is a paladin card? What is on it? What is it good for? So there are 3 pieces of key information on one of these cards. At the bottom, in the brown bar, it will give you an action, it'll give you a boost to one of your actions during the entirety of this round. So, for example, Anses, I don't know his name, it's on there, allows you to take the fortifying action, which we will get through in a minute, take the fortifying action, and it costs no provisions. So that gives you a boost to, so you'll be free. Someone else will have something else, and someone else will have something else, potentially. But there are only 12 Paladin cards. Sometimes you will get the same. And that doesn't matter, because The other bits of information are at the top left. Every Paladin card will show 2 different workers for you to take. So you will take these 2 from the supply, ready for your action phase. In fact, for the sake of action, let's do that. So I've got these 2 to start off with. And then this bit here is all to do with your attribute marker. So this gives you a temporary boost on these 2 attributes. So in this case, because I'm playing this guy on this round, I will be able to put my influence marker on 3, and my faith marker on 1. Now, this is not the number that it goes on. This is a temporary boost. So say, I mean, we were talking about being in round 3. So say that I was already on 3 for my influence. That would then be pushed up to 6 temporarily. And then my faith will be pushed up to 2. And then at the end of the round, these will come back down once that gets flipped over and dealt with. But for the round, you get a boost on that. As well as taking the 2 workers from there and giving yourself the temporary boost, as I say, you are also taking one of these. So these cards show a collection of 4 different workers. You choose one, take it. Well, you don't take it actually. It just wants you to take the workers. So if I chose that one, it would be 2 red, 1 green, and 1 purple. And they'll go there, and that will become my worker supply for the round. And then this card just gets, you can either put it to the side or turn it upside down to show that that one's been used. And then in clockwise order, then the next player will be able to choose from those 4, then it'll be 3, then and then the last player will always be able to choose from 2. As a quick side note, with these criminals being wild, yes, that is very strong. Whenever you are instructed to take a purple criminal worker, at the top of the board, there will be the suspicion cards. You notice that they are purple. To help remind you, you always take one of these. So if I'd taken 2 criminals, I would take 2 of these cards. You flip them up and they will show an amount of silver on there. So firstly, you put them at the top of your board there to show that you got it. And then there will be some silver at the top of here in the tax stand, as it were, from, if you remember from Architects. You will take the amount of money that it shows on the suspicion card and you will have it. When that runs out, something happens, potentially bad. So whereas this looks like it's all good at the moment, you've just gotten money, potentially something bad could happen. I will go over that later on. So that'll go round robin until That is, so yeah, done, that one's done, left behind, whatever, nothing really happens with that. That is at the end of that phase. You've got your workers, potentially got some extra money, and then it's on to phase 6. Phase 6 is the main thing of the game. It is the action phase. It's where you're using your workers to do stuff. So I will cover that off separately, but that's when that would happen. But once you've done all that, it is then phase 7, which is the cleanup. There's only 4 potential things that need to happen during cleanup. The first one is to do with the townsfolk's cards. If this one was empty, so someone had taken this townsfolk card, nothing, no other cards need to be removed. However, if that card is still there, it does need to be removed. And then if there were some other gaps, what you do is you just shift everything down to the left, to the far right, and then, well, not to the far right, and then you reveal the next, some more cards until it's all full up again. So that's what you do with the townsfolk. The outriders here, exactly the same, but like mirrored. So if that was, say this was the only one that was done, you don't need to discard any cards. You simply just need to move them down and then reveal the next. Then you get rid of tavern cards. They go to a face down discard pile on the side, and then, well, yeah, you just go that. And then any workers that may have been out on King Favours cards get put back into the supply, ready for the next round. Then it's on to round 2, the next round, revealing more cards, getting your Paladins, passing the start player market, etc. Do that 7 times. At the end of the 7th phase of the 7th round, tally up the points, and the winner, whoever has the most. So let us go on to Actually, you know what? Before we go on to what actions are what, because there's a lot going on, I will briefly mention what goes on with the suspicion cards. So, if at any point, by the way, some cards have no money on, some cards have 1, and some cards have 2. So, if at any point, or I say if, when all the silver has been removed from the tax stand, and what's called an inquisition happens. An inquisition, all that they have to do is you count how many suspicion cards you have, not the money on them, just the cards themselves. Whoever has the most cards takes an unpaid debt card, so -3 points at the end of the game, puts that in front of them, and then takes their suspicion cards, takes half of them, rounded down, and puts them in a discard pile there. So they've still got some, and if they really go in criminally ways, they could potentially in the next one also still have more suspicion cards than anyone else, but it does lower that chances to happen. But they have now got a debt card with -3 points. If at any point it gets to be flipped, you will get a point at the end of the game for doing that. There are also ways to simply discard debt cards. So, and that is that. Once the Inquisition has happened, you refill the tax stand with coins from the supply until the player counts what amount of coins are there. So in a 4-player game, 8 coins. And that's the Inquisition. So potentially good, potentially not too bad if you can work with the criminals. So here we go. On to the action phase. Phase 6. Starting with the start player going around, people are going to be using their workers in various ways until they cannot use any more workers or choose not to, and then they can pass. When all players have passed, that's when the action phase ends. So what can you do during your action phase? Firstly, any reveal favours, you can use that. If a worker is on there, it can no longer be used, so it's only 1 worker per King's favour. Over here, we have various spots. As before, anything that is see-through can have any colour unit on, worker on, and any coloured ones it has specifically to be that colour or a purple. In general, anything over this half of the board is to do with resource gathering. Anything on this half of the board is to do with attribute improvements. So going through here, the first thing that I'm going to cover off is the hunt and the trade actions, because they're simple and they both do pretty much the same thing, just with slightly different resources. So you are allowed to, and only once during your turn, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, is you can either put a single unit, a single worker, or 2 workers. You cannot put 1 worker on 1 turn and then put a second worker on a later turn. You can't do that. It's 1 and done. It's 1 or the other. If you put 1 worker on hunt or trade, you will either get 1 provision or 1 coin. If you put the correct colour worker in the second place, and you do both, you put both down, you'll either get 3 provisions or 3 money. So it's 1 plus 2. So it's not just 2, it's so either 1 or 3 of which of those 2 resources there are. If you take the recruit action, firstly, once again, like this, you either do 1 or you do both. You can't do 1 then the other in the same round. If you were to put 1 there, now it's these green townsfolk's card. So that is these guys up here. So if you were to put a single one on, the only thing that you are concerning yourself with at that time is what is going on in the top right corner. So the first thing you do is you pay any silver cost that may be showing underneath them, in which with these two you can take a deck card instead of paying the cost if you wished. You take the card, you discard it, and then you gain whatever's there. So in this case it will be 2 money, it's light brown, so it'll be from the tax stand, 2 labourers, take a prey action, I'll go over that in a bit. That is from the expansion, and that is discarding. So there's an X there, so that's discarding a deck card. So that's all you're caring about when you take the basic recruit action. If you take the main, also the 2-person recruit action, that's that one. So once again, you are paying the cost, but then you are taking the card and you are concerning yourself with what's along the bottom there. So once again, this is just like in Architects. This one means when you do something, arrow, this happens. And as you can see, they all have that. And sometimes they have an instant action, which just like with the lightning bolt, just like in Architects, that happens straight away. So if I were to take that one, which was free, I'd be able to keep that with my other one, which you get at the start of the game. I'd be able to get rid of one of my suspicion cards, because that's what that X means there. And now, whenever I take a develop action, so that is this one, as you can see by that there, but we'll go over that in a second, I will be able to take a coin from the tax stand. Lovely. So that is the recruit action. Prey requires 2 coins and a black worker. I actually don't have any, so I can't put on there. Well, I could put my purple on there because that counts as a wild. That's a wild. So you pay 2 coins and you can take the prey action. What a prey action is, it's all to do with here. So I'll explain what it means, but it might not mean anything until we go through it a little bit more. But when you take these actions, you are putting your workers on here, which they do last until the end of the round, unless you take the prey action, pay the 2 coins, and you can remove the workers, put them back in the supply, and then that space, that action, becomes available to you again. That's what prey is. You cannot take a prey action on the King's Favour cards. Conspire. Conspire requires anything, and it's very simple. You get a purple. You get a criminal worker. And much like when you do it during the tavern phase, if you take that, you take a suspicion card. And that's the sort of basic resource gathering options. Now, develop. Develop takes 2 of any workers. It costs 4 coins. And what you're doing is you are taking one of your workshops from here. And well, I say one of them. For both this, and this, they're always leftmost first. Left working to the right. So you take the leftmost workshop. First things first, whatever's underneath it, there'll be a worker underneath. You will get that. So in this case, it's a white labourer. So that's another labourer for me to use. I mean, let's pretend I used these guys. There we go. And then you take this, and over here, where you've got these actions that require 3 workers, you will see that the first 2 have dotted lines around them. What you do is you place your workshop over one of them, and now that action only requires those 2 workers. Or those 2 workers. It doesn't matter, you can do it. So at the most you can put 2 down to make an action very, only costs 1 worker. Obviously, and then the workers will go to the coloured ones as you go along. And if you get to these ones, much the same with these. If you get to the higher ones, you will get points at the end of the game. That is the develop action. Now, we are working with these 6 main big actions here. Rule of thumb, any colour that is on the left is asking you to have your attribute track of that colour. That's what we're going to be comparing. The colour on the right of the action is what reward you will get on that attribute. So, for example, with this absolve, we are going to be measuring the influence attribute. I'm going to do an action, and then it will improve my faith attribute. And that is the same for all of them. So colour on the left is what you're measuring, colour on the right is what you're going to be improving. So, as before with all the others, these are the colours that are required. See-through is any colour. So a commission will require a green, any colour, and a black, or any of them can be purple. And what you are doing is you are taking the leftmost monk, they're called. So it's one of these black little meeple things. And you are paying the provision cost that it's saying, so 1, 2, or 3. Taking the leftmost one, which there we go, as you can see, it's going to improve your blue, because it says you're going to improve your blue. And then you are coming over to the main board here. So as it said, we are looking at the faith attribute. So what you do is, let's just say we are on 3 for whatever reason. You look along the bottom of the board and you'll see there are banners with a number in the black. That is what you are comparing it to. So with our attribute being at 3, that means I'm looking at these 2 numbers. What that means is I'm looking at being able to place this piece that I took from my board on one of these squares on here, bearing in mind that some of them are dependent on player count, and it will show underneath. What you do is, quite simply, you place it on there, you gain the reward that you covered up. So if I did put it there, because I can, because it's 2, I would get 2 coins. Notice that it's not light brown, so therefore it will come from the supply. And that's a commission action. And then I will skip Fortify because Garrison is very similar to commission. So this time we're measuring red, and I'm going to do a little bit there. So this time we're measuring red, and it will improve your faith attribute. So it requires a blue, any colour, and a red. You take the leftmost, once again paying any provision costs that are above. You take the red Garrison piece, once again going over here, but this time you're comparing it to the red number. I've put us up to 6 for this example, which means now we've got 1, 2, 3 different columns that we can look at. So I've got 1, 2, and 3. Place it on, get the reward. So I'm going to place it on there, which will get me a green worker. And because I've taken it from there, you'll see that there is a faith attribute symbol. So therefore, the black goes up by 1. So as you can see, that's how commission and garrison is very similar. Fortify. So with Fortify, we are looking at the influence. So the blue colour, and it's going to improve the strength. So what we are looking at with cost is, so we're looking at a blue, any colour, and a green. We look at the top of our board where you will see this is where we're measuring. So we've got 4 influence, which means there are 3 spaces we've got. Once again, it's left to right, so you have to fill up from left to right. So really, we don't actually need anything. We've only got a 0 because we haven't done anything. It will cost that, so that is 1 provision that will cost to go back to the supply. And then you've got this crane, which is the wall card. You take the top one, flip it up. Oh, look, there's the red. You place it on there, and that's your reward all along. So that would be an increase to red, 1 labourer, and 1 fighter. As you can see, you quite often get additional workers to carry on your round. you're trying to get combos. And that is the Fortify action. And as you can see, when you get to the last 3, you get points for those as well. So that's the top actions. Absolve. Absolve is to do, once again, with influence. And this time you're looking at increasing your faith track. So it costs 1 black, 1 of any colour, and 1 blue. You are comparing your attribute to these jars that are along the bottom. So once again, left to right, that is at 4. So if they were gone, I would be allowed to take that one, but I couldn't take that one until I've increased again. And as you can see, they do have the black attribute at the bottom there. You will increase that. But yep, so let's say I haven't done it yet. So I take this jar, increase the black attribute. You have to pay what's above, so that would be 1 silver. You take the jar, you go over to the right, and then you'll see there's some outlines of the jars on here. You can place it on there anywhere, doesn't matter which one, and you get the reward that it covers. So you can get 2 free prey actions if you wanted. Let's just say I took that. And you can get rid of one of your suspicion cards. And that's what the Absolve action is. Attack and Convert are actually bigger, more in-depth versions of the Recruit. So whereas Recruit is to do with the townsfolk, Attack and Convert are to do with the Outriders. If you take the attack action, you are comparing red, and you're going to be rewarded with blue. It's 1 green, 1 of any colour, 1 red. And you are once again comparing your red tracker, once again with these tags. We are using these again. But this time, instead of it being to do with these columns, you are looking at the cards underneath. So we would be allowed to attack any of these 4, because I've increased it now, any of these 4 cards at a basic level. If I really wanted, for whatever reason, to attack that one with a 9 banner, you can pay 1 coin per missing red per 2 missing red attribute. So because I'm on 7, if I needed 9, I could pay that silver, and that would then temporarily increase it to the 9 required. And what we are concerning ourselves with is what is in the top right corner. So always you're going to get a blue or more or 2 blue attributes, as it says on there. But you can also get something else. So in this case, it would be for me to discard that deed I picked up earlier. So you attack, you take the card, you turn it upside down, and you place it next to your board. And that's attacking. Convert requires faith, gives you strength. You need red, any, and black. And what you are concerning yourselves with is what is along the bottom. So, as we said, care about black. Once again, we are looking at the black symbols. Let's just say I've gone to there, so I'm on 5. So I'll be able to go up to here. So I'll look at one of these. I would look at, along the bottom of the board, there is a cost here. So for the first one, it's free, and then 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 3. I would take the card, whichever one I wanted. If there's an instant, which there always is, because it's always the red that you get to improve. In this case, there's 2 there, so sometimes it's a couple. You take the card, and you place it at the bottom of your board, like so. In doing that, you will then give yourself an end game scoring opportunity. All of the converts are end game, as you can see, with all of the flags. And that is all of the actions. You will take turns doing that until you pass. And once you pass, you do the cleanup, and do all 7 phases until until the 7th round. At the end of the 7th round, you are scoring. What you are looking to score will be, for every one of those that you have achieved, on your attribute track, you will see that there are some points up there. If you are looking at whichever one is the highest one per attribute. So in the case of strength, I'd get 11. For faith, I'd get 3. And for influence, I would get 3. You're looking at the develops, the monks, the garrisons, the jars, the walls. You know, you were looking at all of them, not just the furthest one along. So if I had gotten all of these, it would be 1, 3, and 6 points. So 10 points, yeah, I can count. Your debts, if you have some the paid or unpaid, it'll be either -3 points or +1 point. With silver and provisions, for every set of 3 that you've got at the end is 1 point. And then you look at your outrider cards to look at the bottom. And then it'll be like, for example, this one is 1 point per 4 faith attribute you've gone up. One I will take note of with us is this one is saying 1 point per that symbol that we've defeated. Now, all of these, at the top left have faction symbols. That is what we care about with these. So like I say, with that card where it says for that one, if I'd say defeated this one, attack this one, this is why you take it and turn it upside down and keep it to one side. Because if it was face up, you might be nervous, you might get confused and think you care about that, so you keep it face down. At the end of the game, you turn it back up, and then, as I say, if you have that, you go, oh, 1 point per one of them. You'll see how many of these symbols you've got, and that is how many points you get. Whoever has the most wins. And that is the base game of Paladins of the West Kingdom.